You see buses in the nation's capital. Buses are designed to take 50 passengers. Sometimes you have over 110, 120. That's because they are highly subsidized and free. For me, subsidy, yes, but free, highly no. It shouldn't be free. And this is the only way to be honest, because we're preaching about sustainability. If it is free, we can't sustain it.
If masses are going to be paid, it has to be in a subsidized amount of money. Let the government subsidize it, because major thing we are facing now is the problem of transportation, the high cost of transportation. All of us move from one place to the other, goods and services move from one place to the other, but when the cost for transporting goods and services to where it is needed is highly expensive, it will affect the price of goods and service itself.
Let Innocent produce buses for Nigeria, electric buses, and let them be carrying people all over 100 naira. Nigerians can afford it. 100 naira. Even if from here to Gawalada, 100 naira. From Ketu in Lagos to Victoria Island, 100 naira. If they do that, the buses, the distance will reduce. You understand me? You set up a charging point where they can go and charge their buses. Like in Lagos now, they have a depot for the buses. Let them go there and charge the buses and be carrying people 100 naira. It will reduce the economy.
A state like Ebonyi State budgeted 68 million to buy SUVs for their state House of Rep members. So if that can be budgeted, state like Benue, Governor Ilya was saying the budget for House of Rep members to acquire a car is 60 million. That means Nigeria is wealthy. I think transportation can be made free, but I don't think these people that are making money from this would like to stop right now. The transport sector is a huge sector of the economy, but then the everyday increase in prices, remember, has not made people to be happy about the transport sector.
Coincidentally, if the governor can instruct the director or the manager of any transport state corporation that any citizen, not only even their citizen, any person that acquires their state to another state or interstate or intrastate, they should be giving them, consider them free or complimentary board ride of transportation from point A to point B. The lower people, the less privileged, the state government should make it, and students, the old people, they should make it free to them.
Really affecting. Like if you can see people moving over there, everybody are trekking, they cannot enter transport because of the cost of transport and all that. People go a long distance, 1 mile, 2 mile trekking because of no money. And not only that, a lot of criminal and all that. I know I have lost out to 4 phone where I was trying to see how I can get a cheaper car, because where I want to go, then charge me a lot to take me to that place. The first day I lost my phone, second time I lost my phone. And it's because of hungry. That is why those boys increase in robbery.
Abuja is not working very effectively. You know. Then the government should look into it and provide more. And they can go to countries, other countries, developed countries, go there and get there. They know what to do, and they bring it down the price. And they also consider the pass also, because the former one, the urban mass, many of them packed now in the garage. They are not working. And they ask, they say this one has a small issue, this one has a small issue. Which day are they going to visit? So the government need to sit up to put these things in order.
That is voices from the streets, where people express their opinion about different policies of the government. From the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Nasiru Usman, reporting for Signature TV.
The Igbos would say, so today we see a lot of imported cultures, and within our cosmology, within our worldview, those things are not in existence. I'm not saying we cannot, learn from other people and progressives, but it's not everything out there that should be learned. When you look at it, you evaluate it through the spectrum of your worldview, cosmology. If it aligns, fine, because the Igbos have one of their major characteristics, Njepo. Njepo is sojourn. Across the world, there's this funny thing they always say. If you want to know a very habitable location across the world, there are 3 things you need to find out: the Catholic Church, and then the Igbo person. So anywhere you do not see these 3 identifiers, then that place is not habitable. But the Igbo, I don't know if you see the trend on social media now. So people identify you with their Igbo heritage. I've seen Igbo Taiwanese, Igbo Pakistanese, right? So Njepa means when you sojourn, you carry your whole essence, everything you have. That's where we go there. We find Ndi Igbo in America Association. Then SMD Igbo in America. So this is our attributes. And then when we are coming back, we bring all of the good we find in that location and bring it. That way, we are maintaining that balance, because one of the principal Igbo characteristics is balance. That is why we have this dual complementarity. Ifekolo, Ifakudebeya, Inwe Nwoke, Inwe Nwanyi, Inwe Elu, Inwe Ala, Inwe Nigeria, Inwe America. So I mean, with that balance, the world is not tilted to one corner.
We had an interview during the Global News with a former international analyst about the debates between Donald Trump and Harris. And we're going to be playing you the interview right away.
Joining me now to discuss the U.S. presidential debates, which ended a few hours ago, is former Foreign Affairs correspondent Vin Martin Obiorino. Vin, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for welcoming me a second time. I just wanted to see some more parts of that debate. It was a very engaging one. It was vibrant. It was, like footballers will say, you didn't take your eyes off your TV set, because every second was a high point. But what has happened in this election is that Kamala Harris is coming out of the dark, bringing herself, presenting herself to the American people for the first time, enjoying this kind of viewership. I mean, number of Americans and even people across the world. And she knew it was a very, very important moment for her. And what did she do? She tried to avoid distractions. She tried to remain focused. And she went into that debate with what I would call a two-pronged strategy. One was to show herself as someone who had authority. She also wanted to show herself who had a lot of gravity, and also wanted to show herself as somebody that was mature, presidential, and could be president of America. She also, the second part to it was to differentiate herself from Trump. I mean, she was very intentional and strategic about it. This is who I am, and this is who he is. And that was even, if you started from the beginning, when they came, you saw that she was the one that worked from her podium and went across to where Trump was and shook and said, "I am Kamala Harris." So, and then another strategy she employed in that debate was to see how she can provoke Trump, how she could get under his skin and make him say some of those wild things that he's known for. But then she also tried to stay on the issues. And, she presented herself as someone who was going to be president of every American, And for Trump's strategy going into that debate was to show that, Kamala, you can't distance yourself from Biden. Sure. So whatever he said, he wanted to say Biden, Kamala Harris government. Everything he tied. That it got so bad that at a point, Kamala said, "You're not debating against President Biden. You're debating against me." Then the other strategy was to prove that he had a wonderful 4 years, and that all the legacies in the economy, in the defense of America, in ensuring world peace had been blown by the Biden-Kamala Harris administration. So we saw a very robust debate early this morning for those of us in Nigeria, and it was about 9 p.m. Eastern time in the United States, you know. But that debate also has redefined what happens in the next couple of days. Because immediately after that debate, the SSRS had pulled those that watched the debate on CNN.
Okay.
And the verdict was that 63% said Harris won, and 37% said Trump won. Of course, immediately Trump came out of the debate ground and was speaking to the press. He said, of course, he won. Because the Democrats think that Harris has done so well. So they are demanding for a second debate. And Trump says, well, we'll think about it, but the only reason they're wanting a second debate is because they're lost. So, and then that debate also saw Trump being Trump, making wild claims, even some that were immediately fact-checked by the presenters. Like when he said that some immigrants were eating dogs and pets of Americans. You know, that they were eating part of their, you know, he says that the immigrants are criminals and what have you. And then he said that, can you imagine that they are not even eating the pets and dogs of the... So the interviewer said, no, based on what we have, is not true. They said it's not true. Of course, you know Trump. What he says, he says. And then all through the debate, because his greatest strength, according to him, is immigration and what has happened with immigration. So you ask him a question, he goes back to immigration. You ask him a question, he goes back to immigration. When they asked him, you played a part in what happened on January 6th. Did you know that kind of yes or no answer? He didn't talk to them. He just I think that this debate might change the numbers. It might change the numbers. If you remember that at the Biden-Trump debate, Trump had won almost by 63 to 33%.
On every poll, in fact. On every poll.
On every poll. On every poll. Right. I mean, it was bad, and that was what led to the panic of the Democrats, and that led to Biden he had to now drop off the race. So I think that after this debate, numbers may change, because a lot of analysts are saying that Trump didn't actually say anything different from what he has been saying. And he didn't make a compelling case for some of the things he was saying. So I very much believe that it might change the numbers.
All right, I mean, two key issues just before we let you go. One of them is what Nigeria as a country can learn from this debate. I mean, we've seen over the last few years in our last two presidential elections, where it was even an issue for presidential candidates of political parties not coming up for debates like this. And this is the only time you can actually sit and watch someone up close and personal tell you what they would do, why they become the president of the country. But that doesn't happen. Do you think that we could learn a thing or two from this? And secondly, I didn't really see them talk about the significance of or the importance of security, given that today, which is September 11, in 2001, was when the Islamic attack happened. they didn't really dwell on that. So do you think that's if one of the things that they missed out in the debate?
Okay, let me start from the last question. Yes, I think security should have been one of the issues. But you know what happens in the American election? Some issues become issues. Security is not actually a big issue in this campaign and this election. Because when you look at the American state, the challenges, security challenges you could say they have are those internal gun violence and what have you. But I mean, talking externally, there's no big challenge. It's not like ISIS is like they used to be, or any of those terrorist organizations are a challenge. So security is not actually a big challenge. But anybody would have thought that because of the significance of today, that they were going to talk about it. But I don't think that's the big issue in this election is economy. The big issue in this election is immigration. You could also say that one of the issues in this election is what is happening in the Middle East, the Israeli-Gaza challenge. So you saw them talking about it. But then back to Nigeria, it's unfortunate, really. And I can say that the reason for this is because we are not a democratic nation. I'm sorry. We say we are a democratic nation. What is democracy? Government of the people, by the people, and for the people. How many times in the election of our councillors, in the election of our chairmen of local governments, in our governors, in the president, how many times have the votes of Nigerians counted? Is it not when somebody knows that your vote will either put him there or not put him there, that he has a responsibility to come to you to say, this is what I want to do? Haven't you seen governors who say, come to a campaign, all through the campaign, and they'll just say, well, the governor that is leaving has done so well, I will just continue from where he stopped. And they get down and nobody holds them to account. So in the United States of America, every single vote counts. So the leaders have a responsibility to try to convince you, Charles. And that's why you see presidents, they are on the road, you're passing, they hold you back and say, please, this is what I'm going to do. Oh, you are from ENUGU. One of the challenges in ENUGU is that there are bad roads. If I become president, the first thing I'm going to do is to talk about roads. But because our votes don't count, there is a big problem. And for debates to make sense in Nigeria, the votes need to count so that our leaders will have a responsibility, a hunger, a reason to want to talk. I mean, Buhari did not debate. The current president did not debate. And you can't hold them down. I mean, what can you hold them down? I mean, in America, you can play back this debate 1 month after, or 1 year after, or 2 years after, and say, Kamala, this was what you said. And that was why yesterday I was overexcited, where I was invited, and our station really carried it. We are a chairmanship candidate in this current election, in the local government election that they are preparing for in Enugu State, called his constituents to say, I want to present my manifesto. That's the way we should go. So it's unfortunate, but I pray we get there.
That was a very interesting discourse that I had earlier with from our international correspondent, Ms. Avin Martin Obiora Ilo, giving what is going on in the United States. In a few weeks from now, we'll have that presidential elections. The debate just happened a few hours. Still trending on social media. And quite interestingly, Nigerians are excited about it. I'm wondering if they are excited about their country as it is right now, because we don't even have the opportunity to see all our presidential candidates come on stage to talk about what they would do for the country. And so much so, we don't have that opportunity to hold them to account, because debates are a tool used by most countries, you know, to look at what exactly that the presidential candidate or candidates across board would be able to do for the people. Well, let's hope that that changes pretty soon. That really changes pretty soon. Now, switching gears now to something quite interesting. It's interesting in one hand and maybe uninteresting.
Like I'm here in the studio, I also have personal opinion as a person or opinions. That doesn't imply that maybe if I say I regret not being part of protests, it will now say that TUC said they regret. No. So because why we don't actually regret as a body is that we calculated the details of it. One, there are certain things we don't do. We don't join an action we don't even know the faces of its organizers. And as an organized body, we do things that must be accounted for. And we must be in charge of whatever we are doing. We must also be in control to a good extent. We don't like going into a situation where we'll be out there taking action and somebody will be doing another thing, or we may have a different motive. So we, from onset, we didn't have a clear picture of who and who were involved in that organization for the protest. And even if you look at what happened there, that would tell you that they didn't have clear leadership. So, and we wouldn't have just joined. So it wasn't just a sporadic determination or decision that we just came out and said we were not joining. We analyzed it and said, since it wasn't really clear to us, we were not joining as a body. We didn't tell any of our comrades that would have loved to join as an individual not to. But we said as organized labor, we're not going to be part of it. So there is nothing special to regret there. However, I know that the president of NLC said that based on what is going on in the country, having seen that no action, especially actions within the confines of the law, can be too much for what is going on in the country, because the situation is worsening by the day. So the regret is not to say that we took wrong decision for not joining, but I believe it implies the need for multiple actions against anti-people policies and actions of the government.
Well, speaking of the NLC president, he was arrested on Monday while going for an international conference, which was an official engagement. What's your take on this?
There we go again. You see, the country is actually gradually sliding away from democratic approach. You see, when you look at what is playing out in the country, it's becoming clearer to us that the present government doesn't want any dissenting voice from anybody. They don't want the voice of opposition or anybody that will say anything that is different from what they have in mind. They also want to flog us without anybody crying. That is what they want to do. And once you are speaking against their actions, once you are speaking against their policies, you've become an enemy. You know, the initial time the police invited him, we were saying that there was a different intention from what they were painting. And you saw it, even when he got there, there was no clear interrogation there. They were moving from one baseless corner to another. You can't even say that this is exactly what they invited him for. Now, the DSS said it was petition written by NLC, which means it's an NLC thing. Or did the NLC person or persons accuse the president of being a terrorist or what? They haven't told us. Because if it's labor matter that has to do with labor union activities, why should DSS be involved? That is the first question. Then if it borders on the nation, and you are saying this petition was written, when was it written? And why must it be when he was attending TUC conference, international conference for that matter, that you should hold him? Was there any restriction on his movement? Did you give him order not to move out of the country? Because sometimes when they talk, they believe that we're all dafts and they're the only people that know everything, principally because they were given the powers to lead. That you are given the power to lead doesn't mean that your followers do not have sense. That is what some people do not understand. And it doesn't also mean that you think faster than the people you lead. It's only that somebody must be in front. So the way they reason, the way they go about things in the country doesn't suggest that they actually understand the nitty-gritties of democracy, especially the law enforcement organs. And DSS is a respectable organization. We are even shocked that they could condescend this low to the extent that they can be used at any point in time to execute such dirty action. I said it's dirty not because Joe Ajaero is above the law, but judging by his personality as the leader of a Congress and a country, they should know how to handle issues. They should know that is why it's an intelligent organization. If you don't do things intellectually, there is no need referring to you as an intelligent organization. So if they are saying that they invited Joe Ajaero and he didn't, the world over knew about, did they expect that they would keep quiet? So let me not just dive into what the presidency has to say about that. They believe they know, but they don't know. Okay, if you look at it again, he said that labor movement, the growth of economy of this country. Let Bayo Onanuga tell us the level, all the advice he has given to the president. What level of economic development has it brought to this country? He was talking about the sale of Port Harcourt refinery. He has already told Nigerians why those of them in government do not want our refineries to work. They want the refineries to remain redundant so that they can buy them over. That is just the truth. Because if that is not the truth, why should he make such reference? That in 2007, you wanted to sell, government wanted to sell Port Harcourt refinery, and we refused. I think it has also cleared us to an extent, because some people just believe we are playing. They don't even know that the danger we prevented are more than the ones that are occurring. You can imagine that by now, Port Harcourt refinery would have been owned by an individual, because they wanted to sell it through the backyard, and we said no. So you are telling us that the same Dangote has now built the largest refinery in this world. Should he not be ashamed? So if, as an individual, he could build refinery, and he started by wanting to buy Port Harcourt refinery, that tells you that it's not beyond being fixed. That tells you that it's not beyond working, because nobody will see a dead end and go into it. No businessman can do it. For Dangote to have rooted for it, for Blue Star conglomerate to have looked for that outfit to buy over, that means there's something good there. And they are frustrating every effort to make it work, because they still want to take it over. So he should tell us the policies they have made. Okay, they mentioned, he was talking about that. Has he forgotten how they sold out the power sector, the electricity, the power sector of Nigeria, and then started giving it different names? For over a decade now, after selling the power sector, they told us that after going into privatization in the power sector, like electricity, I mean, that everywhere there will be enough electricity supply, there will be this and that. The way they were talking, we expected that less than 5 years, nobody would remember generator again in the country. Today, what is happening? People are still on estimated bills. People pay through their nose. How much have we gained in the privatization of the electricity? And we're now telling Nigerians that we're working against them by refusing the sale of our refineries. Is that not an evidence that he doesn't even understand what Nigeria stands for and what the public stands to lose by doing that? So now, look at the issue of fuel subsidy removal. He's saying that labor movement has been taking steps that stalled economic growth. When we were talking about fuel subsidy removal, we said before you remove subsidy, fix refineries. Make Nigeria workable in such a way that we will not depend on the international market to determine our own local price, being an oil-producing nation. They said if we remove fuel subsidy, all our problems will be gone. We will revive our economy. How much revival have we gotten? We've only gotten extra borrowing. To the extent that we've gotten to the point, you know, if you become a debtor to the extent that when you are moving out, you'll be afraid of coming back with your shoes because your creditors could seize it on the road. That is when you know that you've reached the climax. Nigeria has gotten to the extent that even when our aircrafts leave the country, you may not be sure of the aircraft coming back again because it could be grounded because of debt. Is it not a kind of an evidence that those key players there are bad players? Then let me tell you the truth. Nigerians have hired bad elements to run the country. Because I wonder why the spokesperson for this country will come out to say that labor movement is stalling economic growth when they have crashed the economy of this country. Let Bayo Onanuga tell us how much was dollar to naira before this government came in. How much is it today? Is it a labor that cost it? Since he's an economic expert, Since they have the best economic team, what is happening? The result we are seeing today shows that there are bad players in the pit. So it's not only, you know, the worst thing with a bad player is one that scores own goals. Even if you're not playing well, but they keep on scoring own goals against us in this country.
Right.
We are running backwards. We are running backwards.
I just wanted to ask this, whether it's something that you can chew on a little bit. Do you think this move by the government is, in a way, trying to stall some things that you guys are doing? Because before you guys even had the 70,000 naira minimum wage, it took a long time. This move, do you think it's a decoy by the government to stall your activities or your movement? Because it's beginning to look like if they don't do what they are doing, Joe Ajero will have time to start planning one or two things. Because you cannot increase fuel pump price more than twice within a space of less than 2 years, and then you want the workers to just stall. You know, so I'm just wondering whether you guys have any other plan aside strike or aside any other thing, because that's when he was released yesterday, you guys said you were going to have an emergency meeting to act.
Yeah, that was NLC.
Yeah, so I'm wondering whether you guys think that it's a decoy to stall the activities of NLC so that he wouldn't make any other move, you know, with calling workers strike or to increase minimum wage. What do you think?
If I should be precise, my answer would be yes. You know, if you look at the scenario, let me tell you why they are not outrightly fighting the TUC president as well. They know that if they put both of them on the same spot of being fought this way, the whole world will know that they are actually targeting labor movement. So they decided to take Joe Ajero first. And that is why the president of TUC is not keeping quiet. That is why he has been voicing it, because he knows that by the time they finish dealing with him, they will come back for him. That is the truth. And if you look at the scenario, what would tell you that what you just asked me, that the answer should be yes, is that the scenario is very clear. Look at what they did to SRAP. Going to their office, the DSS cordoned the office and they were demanding for the directors. They wanted to arrest the directors. Why? Because those people have been speaking out all this while against their policies, against their anti-human rights activities. And because of it, they decided to clamp them down. So what they are doing to labor movement is to weaken us, because it seems that in this country today, many organizations that ought to talk are no more talking. They have used tribal and religious sentiment to weaken the people. And we are the only ones standing to a good extent, to some extent. You know why I use the word to some extent? Because they are really still trying to penetrate us, using the same instrument of tribe and religion. But I know quite well that they've not yet succeeded. And because they know that today, if they take any action, the only people they will look at and see coming out to challenge them are those from the organized level. So the only option they have is to nip it in the bud. What they are doing is to stop further action. If you watch it, the fight we've embarked on within this period of 1 year that ENUGU came into government is even overtaking what we've done before. But he has forgotten that APC is a product of anti-government action, that anti-bad government action. We spoke against Jonathan because we felt he was not doing things the right way. He himself, President Tinubu, was part of what we were doing. Then we were sent to him. Then labor movement was sent to him. Where was somebody like Bayo Nanuga? Does he know that his master was part of a good number of our protests, directly and indirectly? Overtly and covertly, he was part of it. He kept on gingering the labor movement to fight on and get our rights. Now it's no more our right to talk against bad policies because he's the president. Can you imagine that? It's no more our right because Tinubu has become the president. You see, so when people are doing things, they don't know that posterity will never forgive them if you go up and go down at the same time.
So what happens? What's your strategy going forward? Are you changing strategy? Are you doing meeting stakeholders? What exactly are you going to do now? Because workers are actually crying about this latest increase in pump price of fuel. People are buying fuel for 1,002, 1,004, 1,007. What is the work the TUC and the NLC doing about this matter?
All right. One thing they don't know is that if you want to harden us, confront us this way. Because when you do it, we become hardened. For instance, Joe Ajero is no more afraid of being arrested because he has been arrested severally. So there was a time in this state that the sitting governor arrested me because of an action. I can tell you that by the time I was leaving the police station, I was determined to oppose every wrong action he took. I was determined. I was more determined before I went there. In fact, one of those days, when that particular authority was talking to me, and they started threatening, I said, okay, you can also throw me back to the police custody. I don't care, but we must do this. Because at that point, I believe I've seen it all. Let's go on with the fight. Because we don't fight on just cause. One thing there is that we have our own legitimate strategies. I wouldn't stay here to tell you everything, because we don't act like you wake up and start acting. We act based on order of leadership. For instance, we take decisions at National Executive Council level and trickle it down. So we have our own plans. And let me tell you, what will make you understand how deceptive those in power can be, is that from onset, everything they told us they were going to do, they never did any. Remember when the fuel subsidy was removed? We marshaled out different points, different demands, one of which was CNG conversion and building of CNG plants and stations at different locations. Do you have any around? Have you seen anyone, at least start from this state where you are? Can you see any? Even if you go somewhere else to convert your vehicle to CNG, where will you get the CNG product? You cannot see compressed natural gas anywhere to buy, at least within this vicinity. That tells you how unserious. The same president told us that the Port Harcourt refinery was going to work in December 2023. Did it work? He told us he had ordered for thousands of CNG vehicles. Which one have you seen? So, even when we were negotiating for minimum wage, one of the major reasons our people agreed to 70,000 naira, which was far below what we intended, because we got to 250,000 naira and stopped there. And we were insisting. He now came up, the president himself, he didn't send anybody. He came up himself to say, if you are demanding for 250,000, what if I give you the 250,000 naira and you see fuel go up to 1,500, 2,000 naira? By the time he was saying it, we never even knew that it could get this fast to where we are. Because if you look at how much fuel is being sold, it's a little below what he mentioned. Just a little. And the next increase, it will supersede it. So, and when that was brought up, our leaders at that level began to consider either ends. If you continue insisting on this and they keep on increasing petroleum pump price, definitely we'll run into the trouble of allowing an action that will affect all Nigerians, even the non-government workers. So based on that, we decided to agree to accept 70,000 naira. Now, you've not even implemented. Do you know, as we talk, the consequential adjustment of 70,000 naira has not even come out. What kind of government is this? Consequential adjustment that ordinarily should come out as quickly as possible. And you don't want anybody to talk. You don't want anybody to say anything. You just want us to sit and watch you. Because you are the president? Are you not president of human beings? Is it president of animals? If we're actually human beings, how do you expect us to keep quiet when things are going the wrong way? How long does it take, or should it take government to produce consequential adjustments of what you even offered yourself, what we accepted out of pains, not out of satisfaction? We accepted it out of pains and out of frustration. And even to bring the consequential adjustment, you've not brought it. So he wants almost a whole year arrears to accumulate before paying. And be rest assured that no governor will even accept to pay anything like arrears. As we talk, some states, including my own state, ENUGU here, have started making plans to implement minimum wage. The problem we have now is that we don't even have any reference to make, because there's no consequential adjustment from federal government that was supposed to produce it through Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission. So if that is the case, that also means that we are now at the mercy of governors.
Recording
because they
in
can
progress.
now churn out anything as consequential adjustment. It's only when you have that one produced by the legitimate authorities that you can now begin to enforce it at state level. So we don't even have anything to enforce. Okay. So if you look at all those things, definitely we have our own plans. And we will not keep quiet, because we've seen that even the 70,000 naira has already been overtaken by events based on the recent increase. And believe it or not, the impact on the pockets of Nigerian workers is dead on arrival. That is the truth.
Let's look towards the DSS occupying Serap's office in Lagos. Now, just like you said the TUC president has not also kept quiet because once they are through with Ajero, they'll be going for him. Do you think there should be a joint effort between the TUC, NLC, and the Serap to combat this move from the government?
Anyway, if you are saying there should be, it will look futuristic. Even as we talk, we've had some points of agreement. But what we don't do is making it look like we are working together with them on the same bench. What we do is that when we have common issues, we come together to agree on what to do. But they work as an organization of their own. So we have TUC, we have NLC, and centrally we have what we call organized labor, which binds the two organs of labor movement in Nigeria together. So we take critical decisions together, even as we operate as two different labor centers and have different affiliate unions, but we have meeting points. So you remember when Ajero was harassed in Imo, it was the TUC president that led action against government on that harassment. So that is the way we do it. If it had happened to the president of TUC, we would have expected also the NLC president to do the same thing. And that is the way we do. So we have this level of synergy and understanding. We may not have practically the same way of action, because I know that each of the labor centers have their own modus operandi. They have a kind of relationship in the way we do things. So for instance, sometimes we decide to do certain things the way we do them. But when it comes to common interests, we unite to fight it. If DSS did not release Joe Ajero in the night of the day before yesterday, by yesterday morning you would have seen action being taken by the two labor centers. And so the president of TUC would have led that action. That is the way we work. So as it is, Serap has interests of humanity because they fight for human rights and other socio-economic activities in the country, which is what we believe in. So we have common interests to an extent. We may not have same approach, but we have common interests. So in a good number of cases, we agree and we act based on our own provisions. So even civil society organizations, we have pro-labor civil society organizations. Government has weakened civil society organizations because of this issue of freedom of association. So they also brought in their own people to form civil society organizations here and there. And that is why if a group comes out to condemn bad policy made by government, you see one civil society organization coming to attack you or to defend government. That is not a real civil society organization in this real sense of it. It's an extreme right organization formed by government or funded by government, most of them. So it might not be all of them, but most of them. But what is baffling us is that what you see today, when we talk about fascism, that is authoritarianism in the real sense of it. It doesn't just start, you wake up and say authoritarianism. No, it starts as a gradual thing. The present government is becoming intolerant to opposition and different opinions. They are becoming intolerant to criticism. But a good leader should understand that when people condemn certain things, it helps you to reshape your system and your thinking.
Right, but again, so many persons think that you people have been compromised, given what has happened in the past, especially as it concerns accepting 70,000 naira minimum wage. That you guys stayed on 250 for quite a long time. In fact, you started from over 500,000 down all the way to 250, and it was when, at the point you met with the president, that was when you and it wasn't even it wasn't. They said that the meeting didn't even last up to 20 minutes. You just accepted, and then. Now you are confirming that he mentioned to you guys that, do you want this thing to remain at 250 and then we increase it? I mean, even in South Africa, the minimum wage, if you calculate the Iran to Naira thing, is around 375,000 Naira minimum wage. And the price of 1 liter of fuel is 21 Rand. In terms of Nigerian currency, is 1,800. So that would have been a better option, in fact. If you have 250,000 naira minimum wage, and then you increase the pump price of fuel.
Because we're buying
It
the
was
fuel.
more like a missed opportunity on your part. Don't you think so?
Okay, you think that way? I want to ask you, how many Nigerians are civil servants, are public servants? How many of our people are earning salaries? So, and when we defend workers, we also bear the masses in mind. We don't take steps that will just benefit us and negatively affect the public. We know. Ordinarily, we are no more bothered about allegations of being compromised or whatever. That is Nigerians for you. Sometimes they turn and fight their own and then uphold. That is why even if you repeat election today, they will make the mistakes that they've been making because they have wrong judgment on every issue. I'm sorry to say this. They have wrong judgment. So, is it because we were compromised that government is now chasing after our people? So after compromising, after selling out the rights of Nigerians, the same government that we sold the rights to is now coming to arrest the leader of NLC as a compensation, as an appreciation for compromising on their behalf. So you see, that is why I say that sometimes we don't reason things the right way. Ordinarily, they should have known that by the actions and inactions of government, there is nothing like compromising there. They're even seeing us as the enemies they have in the system. If not, they wouldn't have been looking at us this way. All these actions you see coming up wouldn't have been there. You see, it was only organized labor that came out boldly even during the election to take certain steps, which is still a point of anger in the mind of the president up to date. In fact, it's one of the reasons the presidency is angry with Joe Ajero as a person. One of the reasons, because sometimes we keep on shying away from the truth. Is it a spirit that will tell us the truth? One of the reasons they are practically fighting against Ajero was some steps he took during the election.
So it's both
personal
and political.
Yes, and political. You saw it in the letter written by Bayo Onanuga. Let it just be that I'm guessing. Bayo Onanuga said that he has decided to play partisan politics. Does he think that it's only in Nigeria that labor movement plays partisan politics? Go to Germany. It's a labor leader that is the president, and it was the labor movement that determined that. Go to Cuba. It's the same thing. It's the labor movement that calls the shots when it comes to politics. They will tell you that this person is, he has all the contents of a tyrant and cannot be the president, and that person will never be the president. And they will boldly say it. So in Nigeria, as a labor leader, if I mention anything against you during the election, you will go and cock it somewhere. Every day you open it and check the contents. Because he said, is Joe Ajero not a citizen of the country? Does the law not permit him also to participate in politics? You know, initially they were caging public office holders and civil servants from participating in politics using ordinary policy until the Supreme Court quashed it. If not, they would have sued him. They would have taken it up against him that as a public servant, that he shouldn't have participated in politics. So when you look at all these things, that tells you that when we talk about compromising, see, labor movement is not an anti-government organization. We are part of government. We don't even fight them. But we don't believe you should take wrong policies or take wrong actions, and we'll be watching. We are the spokespeople for the masses. As an activist group, it's our duty to ensure that we checkmate some activities. We don't antagonize. That is why each time we say don't do this, we'll give you an alternative. We don't condemn what we are doing without at least profiling a solution to it. That was why when we pushed for subsidy to remain until they fixed refinery, when we now saw that they were hell-bent, in fact they removed it, we started devising alternatives. We said do this and do this to relieve the pains of the masses. So when it comes to agreeing to 70,000 naira, let me tell you one thing. It was never because anybody was bribed. We looked at it beyond the workers, beyond salary earners, those that are earning salary from government. And let me tell you one other thing you have to understand. The value of money is not in the mention of the amount, but what that money can do. It's what it can do, what it can buy for you, what it can achieve for you. That is what determines the value. We could have earned 250,000 naira that inflation will erode. But unfortunately, the same government, chameleon can never change, is still unleashing more mayhem on Nigerian workers and the masses. Because we didn't expect this sporadic increase again. At least if they were wise enough, they should have kept this thing under control. At least to implement the minimum wage. And we'll see the impact first. Let people breathe first. And you know, we have a very bad system right now. We don't even have the legislative arm. We have a rubber stamp legislative arm. that passes everything into law. If you want to sell those refineries tomorrow, the legislative arm we have in the country will stamp it without discussion.
Wow.
They will just come and mention it and stamp. And that is why we are standing bold to say, don't do those things that will rock Nigeria. Because they don't understand that, in fact, what they're interested in is accumulating wealth for themselves. But they should not worry. If you continue accumulating wealth to the disadvantage of the masses, someday even those your children you are leaving the wealth for may not be able to enjoy it, which is what we are seeing today. All this insecurity and whatever you see, they are part of products of bad leadership we've seen in the past.
Comrade Ben Asoga, let's leave it there for now. We're going to continue engaging with these issues with a view to finding lasting solutions. Thank you again for your time. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right, we're back shortly. We're connecting to Abuja, the federal capital, for more on the discourse related to something very important you'd like.
Take 1 minute. Thanks for staying tuned. My name is Godwin Sunday. Adiera.
Yeah, got me back. Okay, so now it's good for me is you help me hold the motor and get it down. Maybe just keep us like. Oh, got me. Got me.
Very good morning to you and welcome to Signature Morning here in Abuja. I am Godwin Sunday. The issues around humanitarian services and humanitarian affairs in Nigeria has become a very crucial issue to handle. But then let's look at it from its generality and talk about it from a perspective that borders on Nigeria. Now, we're looking at this because today is specifically 9/11. And you remember 9/11 is the day where the World Trade Center was bombed by terrorists. But then let's look at humanitarian service across Africa and by extension, Nigeria. And joining me to do a critical analysis and perspective discussion on this issue this morning is Garba Adamu, who will be helping us to talk about this. You're welcome. So to Signature Morning, Ambassador Garba.
A very good morning to you. Thank you very much.
All right, so let's talk about the various responses to humanitarian services in Nigeria. We have had occasions to have recourse to talk about the various Boko Haram and other banditry attacks. How have we felt? How have we dealt with humanitarian services so far as a country?
Okay, very good morning to us. Interestingly enough, if we are talking about humanitarian service, now we are talking about the terrorism aspect. If you're talking about the Boko Haram, and we're not talking strictly on a regional situation, which is in the north. Well, the terrorism aspect is felt every part of the country, but it's higher, it's more risky, it's more threatening in the northern part of Nigeria. And the humanitarian services that is extended to that level has been very insufficient in part of the arms dealing, and curbing the terrorism in that area. But if you look at the other aspect of the support to orphanage homes, displaced people, women, widows, some NGOs are really trying their own little aspect. So, they are partnering with some part of the governmental aspects, and at the local level, same. Now, if terrorism is not cured in a security way, it's going to be difficult for some humanitarian service to reach down there, but it's all about security situation. There are people who have the willpower, who have the drive, who are philanthropic people, who are ready to carry out, to reach out to the community, to the local level, to the people in need, as much as it can be identified, it can be strategized, and it can be worked out. We have various NGOs, other organizations, other humanitarian organizations, other civil organizations who are taking cognizance with how to reach out to the people at the local level. But the banditry, the terrorism is something else to talk about. At that region, in Nigeria, the North have been put into fear. To go to the North, you are scared to come out from the North, or anybody hear about the North is they are scared about it. But interestingly enough, most people who need to handle this aspect, they are people who are on seats, who handle the security situation to make people, to make the community, to make the citizens feel the impact of the humanitarian services at the North level and Nigeria as a whole. We have organizations, we have NGOs, organizations from the southern part of Nigeria or at the international level support who are ready to bring in their scenarios to the North and to assist them and to assist the populace. But interestingly enough, as I said earlier on, it's just a security situation. If it can be tackled, which it's going to be a very good one, fine and good. The humanitarian services will work very well.
All right, Garba. A lot of times in Nigeria, we've had situations where the philanthropists tend to carry out humanitarian services, and we see the communities beckon on the government and governmental officials within their scope to intervene, and the government turn black eyes usually on the situation. A case study is that of Benue State. So let's look at this. Is it that the government is not human enough to be able to cater for humanity? Or what the strategy for us to move Nigerian forward in terms of our humanitarian services and disposition of our humanitarian affairs?
Well, we can't say the government is not human enough. Who are the people in the government? They are humans. Where are they going back to? The same system that they come up from. They're not going to be there forever. They're human enough, but it's more like they need to provide an enabling environment for the philanthropical people to put in their best also. The only way they can show how much human they are, the enabling environment is provided in the sense that good roads, the amenities are there, the water is there, the light is there. Now, any philanthropists that really want to bring out any type of humanitarian services in those states or those regions, it's just for you to think out of the box. Okay, the government cannot think of everything to do by itself. It's trying to privatize a lot of things. If some of the philanthropists can identify states or regions, they know that we can build this industry here, like, for example, the Benue you mentioned, they are rich in fruits, they are rich in food. You can build an orange factory in that Benue or mango factory in that Benue. You have not just created only job for people, but you have created a means of investment in the state also. So where are they going to partner with? The state government or the local government? The need of the thing there we need to do, the needful thing there that need to be done is transparency, sincerity, and integrity. Once as humans, we first of all think of ourselves as humans first. What can we do for our people? Because if we can do for our people, we can do for ourselves. Once we think about that, we know that these people, we are inside the people and we're among the people. By the time we know that we have this kind of amount of money, we look at those people who are technocrats, who have those ideas, who have the means and the willpower to do it. Some people have the financial power to do it, some have the willpower to do it. They all come together and make sure that, yes, it works. Now, they're partner with the government. The private sector partners with the government. And if the government doesn't say, I know that, okay, I won't be in this government seat forever, whatever it is, during my time, I know I made an impact in this region, I made an impact to my country, or I made my services to my state. They know that, yes, there's a reason for them to take out this. If you identify other states like Ajakuta state from Kogi state, you identify what other state can produce, what can Kwara bring, what can Oyo bring, the cocoa farm. Once all these states are being identified, the natural resources they can get from there, industries are formed, jobs are created. Now you're as good as you're doing the humanitarian services. You're making a commitment to the society. But the bulk of the game again here is the security challenges in these regions we're measuring. Is it the Benue we are talking, or the Kaduna, or even the Kogi? Is it the Niger, or your way to the southeast? The security challenges are what we need to curb. So we have people who have that idea, who have that time, who have that finance, but they are being skeptical to put their money where their heart is not, despite they know there's something that can come out from there.
Garba, let's talk about this issue of cash siphoning in the country. You spoke about issues where the government can build up a compass where philanthropists can come together, recoup funds, be able to support humanitarian services. But then again, we've had a situation